Okay, meanwhile, back at the ranch, working on building some battery cables for Bonnie, our 41 Farmall H. Got some 2-aught battery cable, and I got all the ends. I like to make my own. They got to be a heavy-duty battery cable because it is a 6-volt system. You need to get as many cranking amps as possible. So, got the shrink tubing, got all the solder lugs. I've already got one end done. Did that yesterday. Trying to get some projects done. Haven't had time to post a video in a while. I got carburetor rebuilt on our 41 Farmall, and got rid of the rough running issue. It had a blown out intake manifold gasket. There was probably about a 1/2-inch gap inside of the intake port for the front 2 cylinders, and it was sucking air through there, causing a bad burn mixture, and it was backfiring through the carburetor, backfiring through the manifold, shooting flames out through it. So I got that taken care of. It's running really good. As soon as I get these battery cables made and get the skinny junk ones off of there, I'm going to put the battery in it and we'll fire it up, do a cold start. It's probably, we're looking about 17, 18 degrees out today. A little bit cool, kind of breezy. So anyway, let's get started. I'll get this, get these lugs warmed up and dump a little solder in them and make some battery cables. I hope you guys can hear me. Got the heater going. It's a little bit cold in the shop. Like to coat the inside wall. I've already gone through and put a little bit of, sanded it a little bit just to kind of give the solder a little something to bite on. What I do is I'll basically kind of fill the whole beginning part of the cavity down inside with solder, coat the walls, get it really good and hot. Some of the wires are going to come out on me. That's all right. Kind of get that in there, twist it in as it goes in, let it cool down. And then what I'm going to do, held in. Take that out. grab a pair of side cutters and I'm going to trim all them wires off a little bit. I'm going to shrink through them. Just going to give it a little bit of a haircut. The older vehicles, the old cars, and the old tractors that were originally 6-volt, they're a positive ground system. This is going to be my ground wire. So, way to tell which is positive, which is negative on your batteries, the bigger post is your positive. So, what I'm going to take, check the size of this, see which one this one is smaller, so that's going to be the negative side of the battery. This is going to be the positive side. And I got this cut to length to be my ground strap. So being positive ground, I'm going to use the larger end. Get that ready. And as always, red is positive. Slide the shrink tube on. Slide this other piece of shrink tube on. And we're going to take, put that in the vise. We'll have to heat this up. This is actually a crimp type, but I don't have a crimper for it. So, just like the rest of it, I'm going to solder it. Like I said, I ran a little sandpaper inside of all these fittings already to try to give it a little bit of tooth for the solder to bite. Really cold in here. My torch isn't wanting to work real well. Buy solder slugs for these, but I like using this kind of solder. And twist it as it goes in. Push it down in real tight. That set, cool down a little bit. Should work out pretty good. And what I'll do, put this in the vise again. Don't want to melt the vinyl here. My dad's working on putting vinyl on his bench that I built him a long time ago. So the vise ain't bolted down anymore. tubing on and we'll just shrink it down. You know, I think I'm going to use my heat gun on this. Okay. I made battery cables for our other Farmall H, the one with the farmhand attachment on. When I bought it, it had some really bad battery cables on it. They were very skinny. And the one was made of aluminum, and of course it had the little repair ends on. And I don't like those at all. They're notorious for getting loose and shorting out and corroding. Like I said, this is a 6-volt system, and I need to get all the cranking amps I can. Maybe one day I'll convert it over to 12 volt, but I kind of like nostalgia. Call me a purist, whatever, I don't care. I'd like to give a shout out to a guy that I watch all the time. Still need to send him some Wyoming license plates. I haven't had a chance to get it done. I've got the plates pulled off, but his name is Kenny Kizzle. You can check him out on YouTube. He does a lot of tractor repair, works with motorcycles and stuff. Real good guy. Like what he does with his tractors. He's got a pretty nice collection. Apparently he's getting some more. Got an awesome Farmall H that he did some work on. He has a Farmall M and an F20. They're all really good running tractors. He completely rebuilt the engine on the F20, and that thing sounds like brand new. What you want to do is you want to get the shrink tube sucked down real good, real tight. It helps hold the wires together, number one, plus creates a watertight connection and covers the bare ends, whatever might be sticking out, so you don't short out on anything like the metal battery box. One cable done. Now, this is the one I started on yesterday. This is going to be going from the starter switch to the starter itself. I need to take and cut about 3/4 of an inch of insulation off. So let's cut this. Peel that off. That might be a little bit too much. Might have to give the cable a little bit of a haircut. This cable is actually a heavier copper braid than the other stuff I was just working with. The other stuff I was working with, this cable I had laying around from when I had to get rid of the long battery cable that was on the 1-ton car hauler. It's got a tilt bed on it, so the guy that built the truck put battery cables going the whole way down the frame and all the way back up the bed again to the winch. So I redid it, routed the cables so that they were shorter and they could run from the battery to the winch without getting pinched or anything, but that excessive length was stealing a whole lot of amperage from our winch. It just wasn't working right. Now this one I'm gonna need to be able to index it so that way both ends are going the same way, so I don't have to twist it whenever I go to put it on. Roll out some more of my solder. Got a lot of solder down inside. We're good and hot. kind of split the insulation out whenever I did that. That's alright. That's what the shrink tube's for, to keep that in good shape. There. It's locked in. Now, it's a smaller end, so I'll be able to just slide the shrink tube right over. Like I said, if you're liking the tractor rebuild stuff, go check out Kenny Kizzle. KennyKizzle. Make sure you subscribe to him. Support him and his family. He's working on trying to sell his house and buy a new place. He's trying to get a place where he can work on his tractors and do all that stuff. He's a real good guy. The only drawback to doing this, making your own, other than being labor intensive, it's also expensive. Might not be so bad in your area. Hard to say. Stuff out here, a whole lot more expensive than it is in other places. Just 3 ends, the shrink tubing, and the 2 battery terminals cost me $50. I already had the cable, so you can imagine what it would have cost if I would have had to buy the cable. There, 2 battery cables done. Now, this is the one that's going to run from the negative side of the battery to the starter switch. And need to cut off about 3/4 of an inch again. I said, I'm sorry I haven't posted any videos in a while. I've been busy between my job and working on other projects, and just haven't had any time. I've got some stuff videoed, I just haven't had the time to put them up. Had to work on a guy's semi-truck for him the other day, and working on a pickup this morning. Stay tuned, because I have some really good news coming up. Don't want to say too awful much right now, but might have something to do with the property out there. Building's starting to creak. Sounds like somebody's outside. Trim that off just a little bit more. Let that go in there just a little bit deeper. That'll work great. Okay. Perfect. Get a haircut. was out feeding yesterday. I was out the ranch. I decided, what the heck, I'm gonna try to see how old Clyde's gonna start. It had been 3, maybe 4 weeks, I'm not exactly sure. I haven't started it in quite a while, and it was about 14 degrees out yesterday. And turned the gas on and hit the button, and it started right up. Real happy how well the rebuild and the tuning went on it. Had to go away a minute, the battery died. Okay, now we'll get to the last battery post and solder it up. This one we're going to have to index it as well, since this is a right angle. This is all the store had yesterday when I bought these for a negative post or the small post. But yeah, I was really surprised yesterday whenever I went out. Old Clyde, he fired right up after sitting 3 to 4 weeks, 14 degrees outside. He didn't miss a lick. I don't even think it was one whole revolution before it actually caught. It stumbled off a little bit. Just pulled the throttle back a little bit. Took right off. This solder, this head stinks. That one did not bite in. Dang it. So, that means we're going to have to put in some more solder. good. Perfect. 3 battery cables made. Now we'll go out to the tractor, put them on. Okay, now I'm back. Just went and took a piece of old 80 grit sandpaper from my DA sander. A little bit of brake clean, get some of that grease off of there. Sand it. Yeah, nice. That'll work good. Rinse it off. That should make really good contact now. So we have battery cable and bolt. One thing for sure, these new cables are a whole lot stiffer than the old ones. Kind of chilly out here, but I'm doing this for you, YouTube. There. Perfect. That'll work just perfect. Now take the other leg and pull that off. Leave 1/2 inch. We're just going right up to the starter switch with this one. There's 2 posts on the starter switch on these, and on your battery side there's an extra wire that comes off on these. It's goes up to your amp meter. So you want to make sure you put that back on there, because otherwise it doesn't make a complete circuit, because your charging system actually, believe it or not, goes through the amp meter. And that's the only way it's going to charge the battery, is through the amp meter. Take our new cable. I may end up needing to go get a washer for this one, because this lug is just a little bit big. I think I got to bend it so that way it'll go through that angle. Find something to wedge this in and bend it if I can. I may end up having to go get a pair of channel locks or something. We shall see. There. Perfect. Like a glove. These have a little tab that the battery cable is actually supposed to lay in. We're going to try. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but we'll try to get it to go back down into that. Now, that battery cable I can put right down inside of the holder, and it'll go right on top of the battery. Perfect. That's the way we like it. That other side might be a little bit difficult, but let's find out. Okay, so what we're going to do is try to see if we can get in here. Wish I would have brought a open-end wrench, but I like the angle of this box end that I have. These blue wires right here I rewired up to the generator from the amp meter. The original wires were the old cloth covered, and they were pretty well wore out. And this other end on the starter is a bit bigger, so we got one of these here adjustable metric wrenches, I think is what it is. And let's take and put that like so. Whatever's going to be the easiest way for it to lay, that's what we want to do. Okay, there's that. And this also has a little keeper on it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to use that or not. These lugs are a little bit big. I think what I'll do, one end is actually a 3/0 end. It's just one I had left over. This other end is a 2/0, so, or 2/0, 2/0, whatever you want to say. I think I'll put that end on the starter since there's more room. Guess you just gotta hold your tongue right. We're gonna have to bend this end too. Huh. Okay. That's the way that's gonna have to ride. Oops. Drop the lock washer. That's the nice thing about working on old tractors. A couple of simple hand tools and you can pretty much rebuild the dang thing out in the field. It's kind of why they were built the way they were built. It's supposed to be pretty easy where average Joe Schmo farmer can really work on it. Do what he needs to do, keep it running. Okay, tighten up the starter end. I need to get some zip ties and or some looming and tie them two wires I redid off the generator back together. There's that. Now I'll show you that old battery cable that went from the starter to the switch. It was, I don't know if you can see it or not in the camera, but they wrapped it in electrical tape. And there's a spot where the insulation had broke off, and who knows what they did there. Seems like there's a wad of solder in there or something. It's just, it's old and brittle and been cut and rubbed against. It's junk. Now we've got all new heavy gauge cables. Everything's good and tight. Now, need to go get the battery, and we'll try to start it. Okay, now we're back. I went and got the battery. Like I said, it's a 6-volt battery. It's positive ground. This is our ground strap. So this will hook up to the negative side of the battery. We'll just snug this up a little bit. It's because I'll be pulling the battery back out. I don't like to leave the battery laying in it. And then hook up the positive. Okay, now we can turn the gas on. Let's see what happens. It's been a few days and it's kind of cold out. See how she does. Like it's supposed to. Had to kind of play with the choke a little bit, but started up pretty good. Got good charging rate on the amp gauge, so we know we've got really good contact. Now, before I go inside, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a tour of my dad's shop area where I've got all my cars.